How's everyone doing? Who's as happy as Blake and me that it's Friday? And Paulie. Anyone out there happy about it? Can you guys hear me okay? Huh?
Me. Good morning, Coach. I am
You
happy.
are? All right.
Good morning.
Yeah, the kids have the day off, so you get to be dad and daddy trader today. So, you know, Blake and I talked about it. I don't remember Steve, but we said, don't get crazy about the short side of the dollar just because the Fed threw the kitchen sink at the market. Worked for the market, but definitely the Dixie held where it had to. So, but if you weren't long, at least now you have a reason for a bear case should it happen under this week's lows. Dollar's going to be real vulnerable. So, the question is, are we going to have a failing rally here in the Dixie? Or are we just going to blow out and break out this time over this 97.70 level? And I don't know. When I look at the euro weekly, it sure looks negative. And look at this, failed where it had to. I also know where you have to be long euro now. So same situation, some pretty important demarcations in both the dollar and the euro. The high in the euro is going to change the picture. I think Greg, when he was on this week, talked about looking to buy a dip. So, what a great time to subscribe and get Greg's look and the team's look on what's happening in the euro. Okay. And Fridays are really one of the best days because you have all weekend. I know March Madness is on and it's going to, if you're a hoop fan, and I don't watch the regular season, something about March Madness that, it's just, some games are just.
Arizona State. Sorry.
They're in it. They're in it, buddy. Okay.
Yeah, they played it. They're going to lose today, but yeah.
Who are they playing, Blake?
Buffalo, I believe.
They're going to lose to Buffalo.
Yeah, well, it's Arizona.
I didn't even know there was a university. You hear about universities you've never heard of. Walford. I mean, whoever heard of? I don't. Anyway, that's a fun part of it is watching some of these small schools that really don't have the funds for a great program, and they, for some reason, they find great players, like ForexAnalytix. We're not getting Wall Street $500,000 bonuses, but put together a great team that could do as well as the guys on Wall Street, better, in my opinion. Anyway, so it's really a good time to join and acclimate yourself to Joe Perry saying Buffalo is good. Okay, are they in Buffalo, New York, Joe? So why don't you guys sign up? Who hasn't signed up that's been in Face for a while? Give me a why. I'm just curious why. Okay. Because I know Face is great and you get lots of content and ideas every day, but it's nothing like being in the chat room with Amanda, who, doesn't like to do public speaking in a webinar setting, but sure is not bashful about sharing her great trades every day in the chat room. And, what you hear from Blake is kind of a rundown of what he's thinking. And same with Steve during the Face webinar, but you're seeing real-time trades in the chat room. So if you like what you're hearing from the team during Face, you can multiply that by 10 in the members chat. Also, to prep for the U.S. session with Paul Franco is a huge edge. Because, if you rise early, you're in the U.S. or you're in Europe, you're already prepped and probably positioned before a lot of the news breaks, like in the next 20 minutes or so. Anyway, I'm such a believer in the company. And the reason why I keep telling people is, I've gotten better. I was bearish U.S. dollar yen, and I had more conviction after I talked to Greg. During the week, he was talking about yields and brought up the yen, and big believer in collaborating with great traders. Just a nice radio show. Okay, so all right, it's great entertainment. So the way to say thank you is for entertainment. You go to a movie, you go to a show, you pay for a ticket. Anyway, so um, this was a pretty amazing week. With everything that happened with the Fed, and I think that most people would have thought the dollar would have gotten trashed, and it lasted an hour. So, I don't think there were people playing the short side of the dollar. And, remember we talk about not predicting the moves of the Fed or the NFP. We talk about reacting to the reaction. Well, I mean, that's a great opportunities. Shorts in Aussie on the spike, shorts in Euro on the spike. So I love days like that because I love to fade action. I was a little early. I was here on this candle, but had enough tolerance on the stop because I didn't over leverage myself for me to make money on this Aussie trade. And of course, a home run ball was yen. So I think we're getting close to the tail end. There could be another 80 pips or so on the downside in yen. Once we took out this 1080 level, this low, look at what we rallied back to, same level. So, we're starting to get a little divergence, but we'll see the 109 handle. I'm figuring possibility of a low into Tuesday, get some follow through into next week. With the explosion in stocks yesterday, after they came off, and I thought they had topped because the Fed gave them everything and they closed poorly the day before. Look at the crude. It rallied right back to the line. Look at this glaring divergence. So, if stocks explode, maybe we get a rally to 60, 70. But even if that happens, I think there's a $10 break coming in crude. Okay, so it's okay if it wants to rally one more time, but we start closing back under this 58 level. We take out this low. I think we're on our way to 56, and under 56, you get measured moves to 52. So I don't know what to do with the gold, but I'm pretty negative the crude. I've been waiting for this early in the week when we had this. I said, well, maybe I missed it, but it could also be an ABC. And the market, crude rallied with the stock market. But yesterday, it really didn't make any progress while the S&P was up 30 handles. So this is what I say to myself, self-talk during the market. Okay, well, crude's up 20, down 20, while the indexes are exploding. So I say to myself, well, that's a tailwind for crude. So if that tailwind evaporates and even turns into a headwind with the S&P's, gravity taking hold one day, that would make the conditions in crude even more negative. So when your markets aren't performing the way they should on a correlation, and they've been married, they're like Siamese twins, although the magnitude of the S&P rally has way outdone the rally in the crude. You get market tells from that. Okay, and so I think crude has topped or is topping, and that's about all I have for analysis. But really, Harb Jean, read 2 for free. I just want to say one thing. Most of us, besides being traders and pulling money out of the equity, some of us have services, some of us have clients, some of us are in some type of business as well, besides the trading business. A few aren't. But if you're in the habit of being unwilling to pay and always try to get things for free, how do you expect to get paid? Because you're going to attract that type of person into your life. So you plant seeds of being stingy, and people will be stingy with you. If you plant seeds of abundance and you give, you will receive. It's not my law. It's a natural law. You, as a farmer, you don't get a crop unless you plant seeds. So plant good seed and watch your harvest be a bumper crop. That's the end of my homily for today. So Blake, I know you, and it's been a few weeks now. It's tough getting up before the roosters, man. I'm so glad it's Friday. Huh?
My eyes are watering right now. Yeah, they're just watering.
Hey, wasn't that an amazing interview with Mark yesterday?
Yes, it was great. Yes, it was great. Actually, I listened to the first 20 minutes of it, then I had to sign off. But he's awesome. I mean, he makes it, whether or not he's right, he makes everything make sense.
Yeah, that's his handle. And but you have to go listen to the end of it, Blake.
What? Okay, well.
All right. Well, anyway, someone asked Mark what kind of accent he had.
Oh.
And Mark came out and said that he was physically abused as a child, and he had a hard time talking as a kid, and no one could understand him. And he was talking about that with courage and effort, you could overcome and achieve anything. I just thought it was such a raw, cool moment, and for him to do a reveal like that, I'm sure he doesn't say things like that on Bloomberg, but he felt comfortable enough to, inspire people, not just his talk about the markets, but that was, I think, an unbelievable moment in face.
That's awesome. Wow. I know I didn't hear that at all.
The last 2 minutes, because I took a question from one of our face attendees who wanted to know what kind of accent he had, and I knew Mark was from Chicago because he was on the floor down there when I was, and the answer just blew me away.
Wow. That's really cool, and that's okay. So I guess that would be a testament to
it's a testimony.
Yeah, I mean it's what you get here at the Face webinar, which as you guys know is free. Now I will use this to plug our sponsor, ForexAnalytix. If you don't if you haven't visited ForexAnalytix, you went on our website, you can go get to them right here, but you can get to them right where it says reimbursement program. So this way you can become a ForexAnalytix member, possibly for free. You can have your trades help compensate you for, to help compensate your subscription, or, if you're in the US, you can get a cashback rebate. And this way you can help support what we do, because that kind of information is, it may not have been relevant for the market right at that moment, but it's really cool information to have. I'm going to tell you guys something, and I want to share with you a tool that I use on ForexAnalytix quite a bit, and I found myself using it quite a bit as of late. And this is a very helpful tool. Let me just show you what I do here. And this is the part of using ForexAnalytix, right? So I'm short aggressively the New Zealand yen. So let me just kind of plug in some numbers for you. So my stop loss for the New Zealand yen is 76.81 right now is where my stop is. I move it just above the highs, and by the way, it was at 77.14 earlier this week. So my entry,
great, man.
Well, thanks. So my entry is 76.35. Okay, that's my cost average. My target is 72.10, or actually 72.50. Sorry, roughly. So it's actually 72.51, but I guess I can type that in. I have a position size of 5 million. Okay. Now, what that shows you right here is your risk reward, and my risk reward for the trade is 8.35 to 1. Okay. And just so you know, this may be my position size currently, but I work in and out of a position. So I do these calculations throughout the course of, while I'm in a trade. I can go, okay, I took 2 off, so now I've got 3. And then I added back 4, or added back 3, and now I'm I'm short 6. So but I'm just giving you a general consensus of what I do. And so it says my loss based on my entry is $30,000. My risk is 251,000. Now, that's not 251,000 in US dollars, so it's 251,000 New Zealand dollars to US dollars, and then I can hold on. Why didn't 251,000 New Zealand to US dollars, and then I can see what my gain would be if I got limited out would be 172,000 US dollars, because I can this converts from it always calculates back to your base currency. So since I'm doing this on the New Zealand dollar, I know it's 251,000 in New Zealand dollars, which is equivalent to 172,000 US dollars. So this way I know, and if I go, all right, well, what was my risk? My risk was, you know, what I say, just 30,000 US dollars. Okay, so my risk is $20,000. So I'm looking to risk 20 grand to make, you know, $200 or $170,000. So that's, but I use this tool all the time, and it's interesting. I didn't use this as often when we first launched it, but I use it quite a bit now, and because I'm you know, I've just kind of figured out how to use it and, you know, why to use it, and especially it's very helpful when I have to input my data daily. Unlike a lot of you guys are gonna you guys are gonna have the ability to, you know, see what your P&L is on your broker trade station. For me, it's not so easy because we use you know, an institutional platform that that, you know, doesn't. Yeah, I have to input my data every day, so I have to kind of go back and refigure. Okay, you know, today I took a couple million off, so now I've only got, you know, 3 million on, and so now I can see, okay, now my risk reward has changed, and then, you know, I've adjusted my stops today to, you know, 61, and now I can see what my, you know, risk reward is. So I use this tool all the time, and it's a, you know, this is one of the tools that we just have, you know, inside of ForexAnalytix, which obviously there's a lot of different you know, tools here that you can use, and a lot of people use like the Twitter feeds that are live, and you can, these are customizable, so you can, you know, we have our own, you know, we input all the major, like a lot of the major news companies, but then you find a good Twitter handle that you want, you just go ahead and throw it in here, so this way you have it all in front of you. So anyway, just I wanted to share that with you because it is a tool that I'm, you know, using quite a bit, and that was designed by Steve, FYI. Okay, so one of the things that I want to show you here, and if you look at the euro dollar, go to basic technical analysis. I want to show you this flash PMI number. This is the flash manufacturing PMIs that came out overnight. German. Those are numbers we haven't seen since 2012. That's scary, people. And if you're out there buying the euro dollar, you've got to be thinking, why do I own euros right now? And we had this false breakout above this high, above this trend line. We had everybody was thinking, oh, you know, the dollar is going to rally here, and then, you know, or the dollar is going to sell off, and then we got this big reversal, and it's in the euro. Now, it's it's not one shoe fits all as far as dollar strength goes. You look at the dollar yen's actually breaking through the support here. Looks like we're gonna test the 618, which is at 109.88. These are important dynamics to understand, and if you were listening to the week ahead video this last week, I was like, you know, when you're trading the dollar, you have to be, you know, you have to be more specific to what dollar you're trading against. The pound is not going to act the same as the euro because of Brexit. You know, you got these news these news events that are really impacting you know, impacting specific currencies, and you got the euro that's really selling off. You got risk aversion. that could pick up today, and the U.S. dollar Japanese yen is breaking down. It's yen strength, not dollar weakness necessarily. Yeah.
Speaking of which, the Bund 10-year yield just turned negative like a few minutes ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're again in negative territory after, if I remember right, at some point when we had that pickup in yields, the 10-year Bund yield had reached 0.8%, and we're now once again in negative territory.
Wow, that is scary.
So in essence, you're paying the German government to hold your money for 10 years.
That is crazy. That's crazy. And I put something in the chat room today about Greek a German finance minister refuses Greek's proposal to pay off Greek debt early to the IMF. I'm like, why would you do that? Why? That doesn't make any sense. If Greece wants to repay the IMF loans early, I mean, I understand that what they're trying to do, and they're just trying to eke out as much interest as possible from the Greeks. But come on, man, it's crazy. Anyway, but so yeah, but then you can go.
You know what's really crazy? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I stirred the Greeks. There they go.
I wrote on the chat room as well. The really amazing thing is that Greece does not have the money to pay back. It owes so many individuals and companies returns on tax, which is not paying to show surplus, which is absolutely insane. And somehow they want to repay that. Yeah.
That's crazy. All right. Well, hey,
one of the main reasons they're refusing to do that actually is because they know that the IMF has been in the Greek program the more strict party. So they know that if IMF is out of the way, through political leverage, etc., it's going to be easier for a Greek government to have more power over it. So they don't want to let IMF out of the equation. The EU doesn't want the IMF to go out of the equation because of that, because it's the strict party and they want to keep it, and they totally understand it. Totally.
Got it. Okay. Well, hey, just real quick, I'm gonna just cover a couple of quick things before you guys come back. Aussie, we got this nice bearish wedge that's developing. I think we eventually break 70. I was just, I've told you guys this, and I'm going to tell you again. And you heard Draghi say it today. If you guys were listening in and saw some of the headlines, Draghi is blaming the weakness on trade. Look, when the U.S. and China come to a deal, and let's just hope it's sooner rather than later, because I'm so sick of this low volatility environment, and I know you guys are too. It's not a Blake problem; it is a worldwide forex problem, a currency market problem, and equity market problem too. It's not just it's an issue. The fact of the matter is China doing more business with the U.S. is going to take away from Europe, which, by the way, Europe is China's biggest customer. Hence, you see the weakening in German manufacturing right now, and you see it's only starting, guys. It is only starting, especially if China and the U.S. come to a formidable agreement. And it's going to impact Europe. It's going to impact Australia. It's going to impact New Zealand. It's going to really impact everybody else as China buys less from everywhere else and does more business with the U.S. It is going to impact everyone else. So any spike higher on some favorable news in China, I am such a seller of Aussie dollars. I'm already short the Kiwi, as you guys know. I'm short the New Zealand yen. I explained that the last couple of days. These currencies are just train wrecks waiting to happen, and I'm really hoping that any day, whether it's today or Monday or hopefully not 2 months from now, something gets done, and I cannot wait to sell other currencies like the euro, like the Aussie, like the Kiwi, the cable. Obviously, Brexit's the headline for Brexit, but anyway, now Canada will be a little bit more secluded from the China-U.S. trade deal, but that doesn't mean that Canada's not dealing with their own issues, which a lot of them are now becoming political. So the dollar Canadian is rallying, and it is. I've been playing this on the long side, even though I got stopped out of a big position last week, which really hurt. I've been, chipping away, just being long, playing this inverted head and shoulder pattern. We do have Canadian CPI. We also have not only Canadian CPI, we have Canadian retail sales today. Big data coming out of Canada. Any type of weak data is going to push the dollar Canadian a lot higher, in my opinion, because if you've not been watching price action for the last couple of days in the Canadian, and I've been very, very adamantly warning people in our chat room in the last 24 hours is this thing is really well bid. Crude oil looks weak. I know it's Friday, crude could bounce, but weak Canadian data, huh?
Screw Friday.
Weak Canadian data could really throw the dollar Canadian, up above 134.50, towards 136 eventually, where I think we're going. Remember, we are in an up channel here, and I think crude weakening. Weak Canadian data, it's gonna push the dollar Canadian even higher, and there have been buyers everywhere in the dollar CAD for the last 2 days. Buyers galore.
Can I say something, Blake, that I really admire about you? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
One last second. I want to let you guys know I don't have any exposure in Canada right now. I'm not going into data long or short the dollar Canadian. I'm not. So, but I am willing to react. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, you talked about, what happened with the yen last week, and it's a lesson for everyone. What I admire about you is you really take the word next to heart. And a lot of people, it takes them time to recover from taking a little bit of a hit, and you just, you put it. It's like you forget it, and you just move on. And it's really something that I admire about you, because a lot of people don't have that kind of temperament to just let go and move on.
Well, thank you. I'll tell you, this one hurt. I actually got stopped out literally at 132.61.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost, at the low, and everybody in the chat room knows this. When I have a heavy position, if I get stopped out, it's usually, it's time to reverse. It just really is. I hate to say that about myself, but it is. If I'm in a big position, I get stopped out. It's usually that's it. They totally seek my stops. But anyway, it hit my stop, and I actually got long again, and then I bought it post FOMC, and then I've been trading it to alongside, trying to chip back. But that was it, and I had to, that's what we do. We move on.
I think it's your training as a Marine actually that translates into it.
Well, I don't know about that, but hey,
maybe you were like that before you were a Marine.
Perhaps, but hey, I've got to get to the data.
Right.
So Steve, I'm passing it over to you. Good luck today, guys. TGIF, Steve, you got the helm, and Coach Stelio, Steve, have a great day.
You have a great weekend, Blake.
Have a great weekend.
TGIF,
hey, what can I say? Blake's my idol. Huh, guys? It's amazing.
Mine too, yeah.
People probably say, you're just patronizing, but I'm still working on that after 30, 40 years after loss. I have the word written down here on my table, next.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean, Steve? Because it wasn't natural for me, and it's not natural for a lot of people.
It's not natural for the vast majority of people, so don't worry about that.
And under next, I say, get out of your fetal position.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Pondering over a loss is, the recipe for disaster. Anyhow, a few seconds out of the data, and then we can talk all about that. Here is the USD CAD and the nice bounce we had of that. So in essence, as we had said multiple times, there were two interpretations, the channel and the triangle. So far, the triangle is holding on the back test.
CPI is slightly better than expected. The core retail sales worse than expected. So
yeah, USD is actually catching a beat as it seems here. So we're moving higher, and let's see how the market is going to settle. CPI 1.5 versus 1.4 to be exact, and retail sales. Where's the number?
Minus 0.3 versus plus 0.4.
Oh yeah, plus 0.4. Yeah. So in essence, CPI was slightly higher, but retail sales were abysmal. I mean, expecting positive 0.4 and getting negative 0.3 is obviously, a big miss. And keep in mind that the previous one was minus 0.1, so a second negative number in a row. Obviously, not good data for another economy that is based on not as a large extent, but on a big extent on consumption. So retail sales are actually extremely important, and that should provide the required fuel for another move towards this channel that you see here, which currently passes from roughly 135. So USD CAD on its way. The 200 simple moving average here on the 4-hour chart held just nicely. The triangle's resistance after breaking held very nicely as support multiple times. If you see it, especially on the daily, you'll see that we never got a daily close. Now on the 4-hour chart, it looks like we actually closed once below it on a 4-hour candle and then moved back immediately. But on a daily chart, we never actually had this trend line getting violated. So there it is. And going to the CAD yen, if you remember, we had talked about it being a good candidate for more weakness. And as you see, a nice rejection from that level, now penetrating this support area. Obviously, not at all a good sign for the bulls. If we establish ourselves below this 38.2 and horizontal support resistance area just below 83, the next area of support is going to be the 50% fib at 81.37, and after that 80, 40, 80, 50. So CAD yen still looks very nice to the downside, and I have to say that I'm actually going to follow Blake in. Actually, since I just passed from the weekly, coach, let me just say here that if we close weak on the day, we're going to have a bearish key reversal on the weekly chart for the DAX. An outside black candle is brewing here after getting rejected from such an important level. And this is what our presentation was all about, confluence of signals. And this is a lovely confluence of signals on the weekly chart for the DAX, because not only we get rejected from an important horizontal support resistance area, not only it's the previous neckline of, as you see here on the weekly, huge head and shoulders formation, but we're also getting a very, very bearish candlestick on the weekly chart. So, combining all that, this is probably a reversal that you should not ignore or try to go against. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that I'm actually going to follow Blake into shorting Kiwi yen, and the reason is quite simple, and you can see it here on the chart, because this is a well-defined ascending wedge on the daily, and I think that we had, first of all, a clear loss of upside momentum. So, 3 characteristics here that I care about and make me want to be short. One of them, this was quite a strong move lower. Second, ignoring the wick, this move higher had corrective characteristics. And third, this move higher, which had corrective characteristics, also had a gradual loss of momentum, which is apparent both in the price action and in the RSI, as you see here. Despite this rebound, almost retracing 78.6% of the move and quite fast, the RSI actually never even made it close to overbought levels. So combining all that with my bias on USD yen, which all of you that are watching this show know that I was still looking for a move lower in the USD yen, especially on a break below 111. I expected to see continuation as we're getting. So, combining USD yen and, the whole picture here with Q yen, also with the fact that, if we get some kind of a deal, we've talked about that many, many times. I think that the market is going to be underwhelmed by what it sees and probably is going to end up selling Aussie and Kiwi. Now, why would I be selling the Kiwi yen and not the Aussie yen? I have no strong reason to do so. I mean, I was short, as you know, the Aussie yen, but it hasn't moved much. I still believe that the Aussie yen is also at a juncture that rolling over looks very good. I mean, this previous triangle's support was tested multiple times as a resistance. In every single occasion, we failed. So, I just like the technical picture in Kiwi yen just a little bit more at the moment. Doesn't mean that being short Aussie yen is a bad proposal. Probably it's a rather good one. And as you see here, there is also not a very nice looking one, but regardless, a head and shoulders formation you can look at, which, would point towards this horizontal support area at 76 once again. So I do think that Aussie and Kiwi yen, both of them look nice for a continuation lower. Let me also open the question box, although I still have a lot of things to say, but many times, the questions provide some guidance on how we should approach it. College say still new in the business, although I will be doing something with you guys next week because of what you guys do and the knowledge you share. My name is Russell. Nice to meet you, Russell. Thank you very much. Euro INR. Okay, we have questions about the INR. Niraz, I promise we're going to have a look at it after we go through some of the majors. Steve, shouldn't the DAX be higher when the euro weakens so much? Seems like the correlation is broken. Actually, Dave, the correlation is not broken. I've mentioned that multiple times. A strong euro obviously acts like a headwind to the DAX. That does not mean that if the DAX actually has, a strong reason to depreciate, that a weaker euro is going to keep it afloat. What it only means is that ceteris paribus, if everything else was the same and we only changed the euro, so in essence, if we had a stronger euro these days, the DAX would have depreciated even further. So there is definitely a positive effect from the weakening euro to the DAX. You just can't see it because the DAX is anyhow plunging during the past few days. But trust me, if we also had for some reason a strengthening euro, you would just have a much, much stronger move of the DAX to the downside. But as I said, in this occasion, it's just not visible by the eye because they both move. They're both moving in the same direction. But trust me, DAX would be moving, lower in a much, much bigger extent if it wasn't for the euro. A very bearish signal here, by the way. I mentioned it the other day as well. Having that triangle break to the upside, one last thrust higher from there, and then immediately falling back in the triangle. We're actually now testing this important support roughly at 11,450, especially if we break that one as well. I think that the next downside support is 500 handles lower at 11,000. So I pretty much believe that if we break below there, we will be seeing 11,000 sooner rather than later print once again. As you see, we also had some RSI divergence here on the daily. But the most important thing is, as we said, the triple confluence of resistances that produced this, this rejection. Now, having to do with the S&P, there was another hurrah yesterday from the market. If you remember, I mentioned yesterday that, I want to see a daily close below this confluence of supports, to feel more confident on the downside. That support actually held very nicely. We got that move to the upside. But in all honesty, this is what I drew several days ago, that we might have, if we broke above 28.10, 28.15, that confluence resistances, we might even make it towards the 88.6. Personally, I still don't really care about it. I mean, I have half a position short in the S&P, and I don't really worry about it, because I do think that the S&P and the rest of the indices are completely decoupled from anything else, meaning yields, the messages that the Fed is sending out. So I have no problem. I can watch people getting squeezed out. I have no problem staying in that half of a position. I'm not advocating that somebody else should follow me in that. I've had a good year so far, mostly due to 2 trades. And I have no problem giving back some in the market if it actually wants to squeeze a lot more than I expect. But so far, I consider this kind of a move more or less natural, seeing how many people were looking for a move lower. Usually when people get despaired, that's when the market starts moving. Personally, I'm not even close to being in desperation. So, it is what it is. And here's the NASDAQ picture. The NASDAQ at overbought territory actually made it through the 88.6 yesterday. Another leg of even steeper appreciation than the first leg higher that we had. So far this price action is very healthy from a technical perspective. Fundamentally speaking, as I've said, doesn't have much to do with reality. And let me add one thing here. As you see, yesterday we had a very, very strong move to the upside, and we had a new high since October, actually. But at the same time, the VIX, as you see here, the VIX did not produce any low. VIX still held this descending trend line support, and this is something to monitor. Of course, the VIX is still at rather benign levels, very low, but you know how these things are. They can easily change, especially the VIX has the ability to produce some huge moves higher. I mean, you can see like a move in the VIX like 20, 30, 40% higher within like a day or so. Now, going back to the indices, this is the Nikkei, another index I'm monitoring here. I had said multiple times that this rebound higher looks corrective in nature to me, and clear momentum loss. I'm monitoring this ascending trend line support for the channel. I want to see. I think if it breaks, we should have some acceleration to the downside here as well. And this is the FTSE. FTSE almost made it to the 61.8, almost. Rebounded within this channel. Quite a strong day, lower today. Although, as you see, the FTSE is still some distance from producing some kind of a bearish, development. I think obviously the DAX is a much better opportunity to the downside, given their relative performance. I mean, it's more than obvious. Now, let's also have a look at some more of the yen pairs, and then I'm going to go through some of the crosses, because we haven't had a look at the crosses lately, because we had big moves. We had big moves in more major pairs. This is the euro yen. The reason I wanted to show this today is because the euro yen seems to be breaking lower from this ascending channel. I had also warned that the euro yen's move to the upside had corrective characteristics. You can also very clearly see here on the 4-hour RSI a very, very respectable and obvious divergence. Nice confluence of resistances, worked beautifully up there, a nice rejection, and we seem to be breaking down from this ascending trend line support of this channel. So I do think that the euro yen also looks very nice to the downside. Now, let's go to some of the crosses, because I do. Before I do that, actually, let me say a couple of things about USD NOK and USD MXN. Beautiful rebound from 840 for the USD NOK. If you remember, I had warned, you can see it also on the daily chart, that regardless of the nice momentum of the move lower, you need to be respectful of 840 in USD NOK, simply because 840, I'm going to zoom out so you can see the big picture here. 840 is the this long-term corrective channels resistance acted already multiple times as support. Every single time the market reacted strongly to that. In this occasion, this also coincided with two more areas of support, the 200 daily moving average and the horizontal support resistance area at 840. One more occasion that proves what we've been focusing on here on ForexAnalytix, that confluences make the best signals for trading. That's why we developed this service, not only to provide some clarity in the markets, but also view the markets through multiple angles. And usually when you view a market through multiple angles and all of those angles agree on something, in essence, when you have confluence of signals, you have a much higher probability of success. So USD NOK, a nice rebound from here, and USD MXN is putting an effort for a morning star formation. I'm going to book my profits if we close near the highs on the day. So I'm going to book my profits because we've already satisfied my minimum requirement here, which was one more low. When we actually produced this zigzag, actually you can count it as a double zigzag as well. I was looking for one more push lower, and we did get that. Ideally, I would have loved to see the market test 1860, where this longer-term symmetrical triangle support passes from. But as coach says, you can't expect perfection in the crab table, right? So that might have been enough. So depends on how we close on the day. I'm probably going to book my profits here, and visiting copper here. More or less the same thing is going to happen with copper. Copper is now backtesting this breakout level. If it doesn't hold from here, I don't like the rejection we got yesterday. Yesterday, it was looking like copper would break to the upside, and then we got a reversal. And the daily close was a shooting star. Today, we're seeing some nice follow through. So copper once again testing a major support area. If that proves to be the case, I'm going to close this position slightly out of the money. Copper might decide to have a more complex correction and still move higher. That's not improbable. But definitely, if it closes below this 280-70 area, it's going to violate my initial thinking of how this trade would work out. So I don't want to stick with it and see how it's going to play out. I'm just slightly out of the money. I'll book this loss and call it a trade. It's absolutely fine. It was looking like it would produce this breakout, but it didn't. Now, on my other trade having to do with gold, yesterday I wrote it in the chat room. I booked 1 quarter of my short at 1308 to make actually this trade completely free, because now in essence I funded my stop loss above this previous high. So now if gold wants to work out to the downside, perfect. I have 3/4 of a position to benefit from. If not, I have absolutely no risk on the table anymore. So now let me go back to what I wanted to say about the cross rates, euro and pound cross rates, because we haven't had a look at them in a few days. So I think that the vast majority of them are actually at interesting levels. This is Euro Aussie. Euro Aussie once again close to support. I have to say, you don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be a guru to understand that this move lower was way stronger than this move higher, which has clearly corrective characteristics. So I have to say that if we do see a break below this trend line, I think it's going to be a very nice signal that we might have at least one more move to the downside, perhaps towards 156. I like this confluence of supports.
Yes, Steve, I'm not a genius, and I notice that.
Yeah. On the other hand,
I'm not a Mensa. My IQ was under 160.
I think Mensa is 170, but yeah, let's not argue on that. I'm below both 160 and 170, and so we don't have to argue about that.
Okay. I think Joe Perry is a Mensa.
I've never given him an IQ test, so
Yeah.
I don't want to jump into
Well,
conclusions.
anyway, he's a genius.
He's definitely a
in my
smart
book.
guy, I can tell you that,
He's
but
a genius.
I've never measured it,
Joe, are
officially.
you here? Are you a genius officially? All right. I'm
So
in a good mood.
Eurokiwi, and you should be. Why not? I mean,
Yeah.
having
All we
a
have
good
is
mood,
today.
having a good mood makes everything in the day feel better, right?
Mm-hmm.
From trivial tasks that you have to do to
Yeah.
work, whatever. Yeah.
Hey,
So
Steve, is one way. I'll just leave it with this. I was in a parking lot at a medical building, and this lady got out of her car, and I said hi, and how you doing? And you know what she said to me? Any day that you're staring down at the grass is a great day.
it's a great day. Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally understand that. And
Yeah.
this is also having somebody can go into detail and arguments that there are some people that are actually suffering or whatever, but it's the whole mentality thing. I mean, what
Yeah.
the lady meant is that you have to have a positive viewpoint in life, right? And if you have a positive viewpoint in life, I think that is in a way it makes life better and easier, right?
Yeah, all you have to do is be grateful for one thing, and everyone could find one thing to be grateful for. And it's very hard to be depressed if you're grateful.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And something else I add to that. Also sometimes it's very nice treating yourself with some little nice thing in the day to make your mood right. Might be something very, very simple, right? Like a walk in the sun for 10 minutes, or doesn't mean you need to spend money or a lot of money or whatever. I mean,
but I think that's great, Steve, because I do encourage people to get away from their workstations and go.
I agree.
Go smell the roses,
Oh, I agree. I try to find any occasion, that I have like 15, 20 minutes free. I take the little one and, I take him for a walk, like in the park or whatever. It makes me, it revitalizes me as well.
Yeah. All right.
So, Eurokiwi. Now, there are two possibilities here. You either believe in triple bottoms. I'm not saying that triple bottoms don't happen. They do, okay? But very often they don't. So you either believe in triple bottoms, so you believe that 164 is going to hold once again, or you believe that if we revisit 164, there is a good chance that we're actually going to break lower from there. So, irrespective of what your viewpoint is, you have a very, very, very well-defined level here to play. So, you like it to the upside, buying close to 164 and keeping your risk, just a little bit below there, or on a daily close below there if you don't want to, tricked by the market, is a good idea. Now, on the other hand, you see these pairs slicing through 164. I think it's going, quite a lot lower, and probably that's. My thesis is that there is a decent chance that that's going to be happening. Now, unsurprisingly, and I say unsurprisingly because, as you see, the market has already respected this trend line. What is it, like 5 times? This ascending channel's support at pound Aussie held once again. So, despite seeing some clear signs of momentum loss, you need to respect, the upside, or at least some consolidation, some horizontal consolidation taking place here, unless or until we actually break below 183.70. Now, once we do that, once we break below 183.70, I think that the chances of seeing a continuation lower are very, very high, given how important this channel has proved to be. And pound Kiwi, the less clean of all of them, simply because, as you see, some horizontal chop. So doesn't matter. 3 out of 4 had some nice technical levels, trend lines, etc. to monitor. So I do think it was worth it reviewing them. Now, let me go through some of your questions. By the way, this is a 4-hour view of the S&P as well, so keep that in mind. This looks like a nice wedge to me, we are now close to this confluence of resistances. It's also the 161.8% at 2880, not only the 88.6 of that move lower. So even if we have a little overthrow, I do think you should be careful here. You can also see the very clear RSI divergence on the 4-hour chart. I mean, what we call a reliable divergence, because the previous high in the RSI here was roughly at 75, and this peak in the RSI is below 70. Okay, so keep a close eye on that. I'm not saying that you should be short here, but I would definitely be monitoring this ascending wedge, because if we break below it, I do think, and especially if we break below this 28.10, 28.15 level, I think there's going to be some follow through to the downside, even if that proves to be a corrective move. Given how much we've moved to the upside, a corrective move can easily produce even 100 handles to the downside. So,
and look at Russell, Steve. Russell has not participated at all. It's making lower highs.
Here's the Russell, speaking of which.
And that's the same thing that happened at the beginning of last year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Although, from a technical perspective, I had to be cognizant of the fact that so far this consolidation in Russell looks like a triangle, and usually triangles get resolved in the direction of the trend. So I have to say that, from a short-term perspective, first of all, it doesn't mean this is a triangle, because you now might see a move like this, in which case this was something else. But so far it looks like it can be a triangle, and you need to be careful if that's the case, because that means that if we do get a move above 157, there is a good chance that we're going to see one more thrust higher before some move to the downside. Okay.
And where's your green moving average? 151.68. That would say that it was a failing rally.
The 50 daily moving average, which is currently at 151.75, let's say, somewhere there.
Thank you, bro.
151.68 to be exact, as the chart says. Okay. So let's see questions.
I do have an interview today. It's a makeup from a great trader.
Wednesday.
Huh?
Is it the interview we didn't have on Wednesday or Tuesday? What was
it? No, it was a mix-up from a few weeks ago. But
okay.
Don is here at Crypto Alt Don. Crypto Don Alt is with us, and looking forward with I've kind of gone neutral to still friendly crypto, but I want to see what he's thinking in here. So it should be a great interview. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I had another question about the USD Swiss. I have to say that absolutely nothing has changed here, because for the USD Swiss, as I've said the previous days, the key levels towards are 98.50 to the downside and 102 to the upside. Unless one of those two breaks, I maintain a neutral stance for the USD Swiss. Yesterday, after I finished talking, I realized that we also had a question about Euro Swiss. So let me cover that. If you remember, I mentioned that we're in a range. Keep your eyes open, because we are approaching the bottom line of the range, which is roughly at 111.80 to 112. If we do get a break lower from there, expect more weakness from the Euro Swiss. So Swiss strengthening further. If that is the case, as you understand, that should help USD Swiss shorts do better, right? So that should push USD Swiss closer to 98.50. So keep that in mind. Now let me USD TRY breaking out of a nice, Dave says, rounding bottom pattern. Yeah, thank you for reminding me, actually, because I haven't shown the exotics for some days, so I can go through them very fast. Not only actually the USD TRY. Here is USD ZAR. USD ZAR still above this triangle, this pennant. So I have to remain bullish as long as that's the case. USD TRY, you are right to call this potentially a rounded bottom, and look at the RSI. Sometimes it's worth monitoring technical formations on the RSI, because RSI had a consolidation near overbought, and we're now breaking above it. So keep that in mind. I think that opens the next area of resistance, which is roughly at 576. This is the USD ruble. USD ruble, a very nice reaction, a morning star formation from this channel's support. So a very nice channel. We found support actually the day before yesterday. We retested it yesterday. We retested it today. And now we seem to be forming a morning star formation, which, as you know, especially given the fact that's on an important support, it's quite a nice signal for a move to the upside. Look at USD Chinese yuan, potentially a descending wedge, which is currently testing the wedge's resistance. So USD yuan has also the potential of breaking higher from here. So that was a fast review. Claudia says that someone is breathing heavily. That's for you.
Boy. Okay. Anyway, Steve, you know, if you get that breakout in the yuan, that may support your bearish gold position, because there have been some correlations between that. So,
and let me go fast and finish up with this, because that was an earlier question about the INR. So USD INR, a nice reaction from here. As I said, you have to view this formation initially as a corrective one, given the very, very, very long-term uptrend. Now, you also want yen INR.
I want to congratulate Tiana on her CAD yen short. Nice work.
INR yen. Okay, last time we had a look at it, we were back here, and I predicted that this is going to break to the downside, which actually happened. But now what's happening from here, rather a bigger triangle is in play here, as you see. There it is. You can clearly see it here. So I have to say it's not the best looking trade at the moment, but an eventual move lower seems likely. Until that happens, I would expect more choppy trading here. Obviously, the closer we are to this resistance, the better it looks to the downside, and it seems to be accelerating. So if you're asking me what I would be doing in the short term with this one, is look for more downside. Now, let me also drag this here. Okay, so it's more recent. Good. You also asked about the Euro INR and Pound INR, and then I'm gonna wish everybody nice weekend. We haven't had a look at this in a long time, but as you see, it's currently actually testing support.
Head and shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. And it's currently testing support, but as Coach said, we've had a technical break here. You can see it, a very clean technical break. You can view this as, let's get rid of the magnet. Let's get rid of this. So nice head and shoulders formation here. So more weakness likely ahead, especially look at this very well defined horizontal support area at 77.40. If we do break below that, you should expect continuation. And last but not least, you asked for Pound INR. I have no clue if, last time I actually looked at that, we were there. We had a false break lower, and now we seem to be in some kind of a bigger consolidation. There it is. So, I would be watching these two trend lines. Until then, I would be doing something with that. Okay, so thank you all very much for a very nice week. If you want to see my interview on Real Vision, it came out today on gold.
Put the link in here.
I'm gonna put the link in the chat box, and I want to wish everybody, there it is actually, a nice weekend, and we're going to be back on Monday. Also, let me say that I've started seeing, as you've heard me go through them, some nice moves in FX and some technical formations that start looking clean, which is a good signal, because I do think that this complete absence of volatility that we had so far is probably going away, and we should have more interesting weeks ahead. So thank you, Coach. Enjoy the interview.
Okay, buddy. Great analysis on the fly. No one does it better on the street than you do, man. All right. Have a great weekend, Steve. Don, I'm going to make you the presenter. I'm really looking forward to our conversation and being able to meet you. So you'll see a drop-down menu and for your mic, and if you want to share your screen, that's also an option for you. Welcome to Face, Don. Stick around for some crypto.
Don seems to be unmuted, but I can't hear him.
Yeah.
Don, make sure that you've selected from the audio tab on the right-hand side, you have a panel. Make sure that you've selected your current microphone from there, because it might have selected another audio device for you if you have more than one microphone. So make sure you set up your audio from there. You don't have to do it from Windows if you have a Windows machine. You have to do it from the panel.
Any luck, Don? Let's give him a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I can actually see if we have any more questions as long as he's having a look at it. And actually, we do. There is one question I forgot to cover. It's the Aussie Kiwi. So let me go through it as Don is working on audio issues. First of all, I want to say two things. One, Aussie Kiwi has been since August of 2018. It has had only two. Let me just take the screen until he. Let me show my screen again. There it is. So Aussie Kiwi has had only two modes since August 2018, and that's moving lower, consolidating, moving lower, consolidating, moving lower, consolidating, moving lower, consolidating. It has done so 6-7 times already, okay? And we've broken below the 61.8% fib of the last move higher, and we're still holding this 1037 area of support resistance. So from that perspective, the link on Real Vision, let me see if I put it here. Actually, I put it. You can see it in the chat. Let me also put it as an answer here. What's the link?
I think Don's having problems, so
there it is.
Let me
just
go
answered
to Twitter.
Yeah. So having said that, you know, we still have no reason to be bullish because from a technical perspective, we've had no technical event to the upside. I need to say two things. First of all, as you know, and if you don't know, it's a good thing for you to find out now.
Doesn't work.
We have in ForexAnalytix a blog. It's completely free. Even if you're not a subscriber, our blog is free. Okay. So almost every day we have, on occasion we have some like important posts that a lot of team members are putting in place. But on a daily basis, we have the chart of the day. Blake does it most of the times. If he can't do it, I'm doing it. So yesterday, Blake actually wrote about the Aussie Kiwi, that it has the potential of breaking higher. He's monitoring at this channel. But I need to add to that there is even an interpretation that you can see this instead of a channel. Let me draw it like this. So besides viewing it as a channel, let me make it another color. Here it is. You can also view this as a wedge.
Right, so Steve, Don is saying this is weird, my mic works, and the correct one is selected, yet we still can't hear him.
Okay, the first thing I would suggest is that he gets out of the platform and goes back in. It might be a little glitch. Okay, before we...
You want to try that, Don? We'll try one more thing. You log out and come back in.
Yeah, and that might work for him, actually. Okay, so you can also view this as a descending wedge if you ignore this wick lower. The only reason I'm willing to take that possibility into account is because we obviously have some loss of momentum to the downside, okay? So I'm not saying that I'm turning bullish, but I am saying that I can see a bullish outcome from here. Extremely important hypothesis for that is that I want to see a daily close above 1,037.38. Okay, if that's the case, then yes, we can be talking about a reversal higher. Until that happens, I think you need
we're
to
close.
Until that happens, you need to keep respecting the downside, knowingly, as I said, that it has definitely lost momentum. I mean, the move to the downside has definitely lost.
Yeah, you could get a
momentum.
throw underneath it, but
Of course, we've seen that happen quite.
But the formation implies be very alert for a reversal there.
Yeah, and probably that's also why Blake chose yesterday.
Yeah, Kiwi yen instead of Aussie yen short.
No. I mean, that's why he chose to write the chart of the day being Aussie Kiwi. As I said, I would rather look at other things. So, for example, I'm very, very close to taking a Kiwi yen short on a daily. If I see that on the daily we're going to be closing, I mean, when volatility for the day's volatility calms down and we're near the close, and we are still below that ascending wedge that I showed, I'm probably going to be taking a short position, or I might just take half a position short and wait to see how we're going to open on Sunday before committing to a full position, something like that. I haven't yet decided.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Don is back. I'm gonna try it again here. Bro.
Okay, try it a second time and let's see.
All right, thank you, Steve. All right, Don, let's see how it goes now, bro. You're the presenter.
I wanted to say one more thing, Coach.
Go ahead.
I'm happy to see. I see it from the comments we have in our videos. I see it from the comments on Real Vision. I see it every day here on the question box. Actually, we have a lot more women than I expected, and I'm really happy to see that women are getting more and more involved in trading, because I do think that women and men are totally different animals. But I do think that women have huge advantages having to do with how their brain works in trading. They're more prudent, they're more structured in many aspects. They have a lot less the element of wanting to show off. So I do think that women are actually very, very good in trading if they work on it.
I agree. Linda Rashke, I can name a lot of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so Don, any luck this go around? You're not, I don't have you muted. You're the presenter. Might be a mic issue. All right. Thanks so much for trying, Don. I appreciate it. You got up early probably and everything for this. Everyone has dragged me kicking and screaming into the 21st century, so I really don't know how to help you with this. Sometimes this happens. Anyway, maybe we'll do a test next time before an interview and make sure it works.
We can definitely do it, run a test and see what's up with that, because definitely it's not a good webinar platform problem, perhaps something with computer in combination with the platform. Usually it's simple, yes.
Yeah.
Or don't forget, Coach, that we have the alternative next time. For him to call in and share his, he can speak via phone and share his screen via computer. So we can even do it like that.
Okay, Don. So we'll try.
Have a great weekend.
You too, Steve. So Don, we'll try it again another time, and I'll get you in the room and make sure it's working next time. I appreciate you coming. Really wanted to know what you were thinking in here. I'll try and work you in as soon as possible. And Face, have a great weekend. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And I count being part of ForexAnalytix as an important blessing in my life. And all of you that come and listen to us and support us and have subscribed, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Good hunting the rest of the day. And I'll see you. Thank you, Alina. Claudia, I'll do something about my heavy breathing on the mic. I run around sometimes. And Have a great weekend. Thanks again, Donna. We're going to do this. I don't quit in trading, and I'm not going to quit until we have an interview together. I hope you feel the same way. Adios, everyone. Enjoy, and see you next Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy March Madness, not just in the markets, but on the court. Adios.